I personally guarantee anybody that's not a good long distance putter, if they read my book and employ my method and that my method works for them, they'll improve their game.
Some experts chase attention, but the smart ones build authority. You're listening to the Authority on Demand podcast, where credibility becomes your competitive advantage. Every week, we're pulling back the curtain on how founders and leaders turn expertise into inbound demand through books that position, media that converse, and strategies that actually move the needle. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, your host and Chief Creative Officer at Authority on Demand. Now, let's turn your authority into leverage. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Authors on Mission podcast. So they say golf is 90% mental and the other half is physical. But what if golf is actually 100% mathematical? On today's episode, we're going to be talking with Bob Labbe, a man who spent his career making the impossible possible. For many years, he engineered solutions to America's toughest environmental challenges, built industrial systems that span continents, and founded 3 groundbreaking companies. But his most amazing project is solving golf's greatest mystery: how hard should you hit that putt? So, we're going to be talking about how one engineer's refusal to accept that's just how golf is has created a method that's revolutionizing putting greens everywhere. So, Bob, we're looking forward to this conversation. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, Danielle, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation as well.
Hey, real quick before we jump back in, if you're loving what we're doing here, hit that subscribe button and drop us a like. We're bringing you the best authors, the most real conversations, and all the writing wisdom that you didn't know you needed. So stick around because it only gets better from here. All right, now let's get back to the conversation. Yeah, I'm looking forward to learning a little bit more about golf. I play mini golf myself, never, professional golf like you, but I think it's going to be really cool to chat about that and, of course, the writing techniques behind it, because it's not every day that I get to talk to an author about this topic and about like sports in general. So it's going to be very cool. But before we started recording, you were telling me a little bit about how this idea came to be, how you started golf many years ago. You had to start refining your skills. Tell the audience a little bit more about that and what exactly led you to writing this book.
Well, yeah, Danielle, I didn't start playing golf on a serious basis until I was 52 years old. Had already sold my second company and already retiring for 6 years. And so I went out and I went to Maggie Valley, North Carolina, and took some PGA of America golf lessons and learned all the different strokes of the game, from the tee box, the fairways, the roughs, the bunkers. I learned about the use of all the clubs, including the putter. And I became pretty good at the game pretty quick. But the problem I was having, I could not properly strike the ball when I had a long distance putt, something 30, 40, 50 feet away from the hole on the green. I was either under hitting it or over hitting it, and it was causing me to 3-putt a lot of greens. And I was putting 40 to 44 strokes in an 18-hole round, and it was ruining my scores. I was shooting in the mid 90s when, if I had been shooting properly with the proper putting, I'd have been down in the mid 80s. And so I had to find a solution to the problem. And I thought, well, this guy, Edward Stimpson, back in 1935, developed the stimp meter. And the stimp meter is the way they established the speed of putting greens in all amateur and professional tournaments. Okay. And I got thinking about that. I said, well, they got that little tube. They let the ball run down. It runs a certain distance. And then they say, well, the putting green has a speed of 9, 10, 11, whatever it is. And that's a very relative measure of how far the ball will travel when elevated on the tube and letting run down the tube and onto the green. And I thought to myself, well, gosh, that's a pretty clever idea, but it still doesn't quantify how hard you should hit the ball for a given distance. And that's what my book's all about.
Understood. Right. So I can only imagine so many people who want to improve their game and,
figure out how hard to hit it, everything in between, and just picking up your book and learning just an easy, problem solving method for it. That's really great that you found a need and you wrote a book to fill that need to answer the questions of others and help others on their, golf journeys as well. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
But a little bit more about yourself and beyond the golf. You actually had a successful engineering career, and then it must be very interesting to go from the engineering mindset to the book writing mindset. I'm wondering what that was like for you. Was it always a dream to make that shift?
Well, not really. I had no intentions of ever writing a book.
Mhm.
Throughout my career, I was a engineer from Georgia Tech, and I graduated in 1968 and did a little master's degree studying and that sort of thing. But I started my first company in 72 and sold that one in 78 and worked for the new company for 3 years. And then I wasn't too happy with that situation. So I started another company and ran that from 1981 till 1997. And that was a very successful company. And we sold that on the NASDAQ exchange. But I had no idea, honestly, that I would ever be writing a book about golf putting. But the engineering background that I have, physics, engineering mechanics, this whole book is about friction and force. How hard should I hit a ball on a surface what has, whether it's a putting green, it's the fringe of the putting green, the fairway, or the first cut of rough. All of those different surfaces have different degrees of friction. And that's what the stimp meter is all about, is the ball rolls so much on a green because there's a certain amount of friction that the green imposes on the ball. That gave me the idea of, hey, I can quantify this thing if I create a method of doing it. One of the things that's kind of cool for anybody that is skeptical about whether this is going to work or not, they can look at my two videos online on my website and view my videos free of charge. They can look at my in home video and on my on course video, and they can see what I'm doing. And if they like what I'm doing, then they should buy the book and get into the details. Because I personally guarantee anybody that's not a good long distance putter, if they read my book and employ my method and that my method works for them, they'll improve their game 4 or more strokes per 18 hole round.
Understood. Well, I love that you have a multimedia element to the book. That's something very unique that not a lot of books do have, but I always advocate for. I mean, I'm a ghostwriter and an editor, and I always say to my clients, you got to make yourself stand out. And the best way to do that is, well, adding in a little bit of flair. Those videos that you just mentioned, a way for the audience to connect with you beyond the pages of the book. It's an
Sure.
excellent strategy.
Yeah.
So how important would you say the videos are to the practice itself? Would you say that people need to see the videos, or is it more of just like a helpful hint? I'm wondering if it's something that makes a huge impact. What do you think?
Here's what I would say. Anybody that was dubious about whether a quantitative method of putting was going to work for them, if they watch the videos, they'll see how very simple the concept is. And it's kind of interesting. Most courses I play, and I can putt any course anywhere in the world and putt it very well because of this method. That is a big statement to make because if you can go to Pebble Beach or you can go to the old course in Scotland or you can play at the Masters or you can play any course in the world and say you can putt it well, that's a mouthful. And that's what I'm saying. And the reason I say that is because when I go to play a round of golf, I go to the facility about 30 minutes before time to tee off and I practice their practice green, the speed of their fringe, the speed of their fairway, and the speed of their first cut of rough. And inevitably, and most of the time, I find that for every 1 inch of retraction of the putter, I hit the ball 25 feet per inch on the green, 7 feet per inch on the fringe, 7 feet per inch on the fairway, and usually 2.5 feet per inch on the first cut of rough. Now that's kind of an average. Some courses are faster, some courses are slower, but that's kind of for my individual putting factor. That's what happens. And that's the key element of this thing. Everybody has their own individual power factor. I call it the IPF. And what you don't want to do when you're playing golf is if you got a long putt, you don't want to muscle up on it and try to hit it hard. And if you got a short putt, you don't want to baby it.
Mm.
What you want to do is you want to putt with the same impulse and momentum that is individually yours. Nobody else's, just yours. And my wife, for instance, is not as strong as I am, but she's a great golfer and she's a great putter. And she has a different IPF than I do. Hers is a little slower than mine. So she has to retract her putter a little further to hit the same length that I hit the same length putt. So it's kind of interesting if you look at my practice videos, read my book, and then try my method, practicing 3 times a week, either on the course or if you have a carpet in your basement that facilitates a putting green, you can practice in your home. And that's what I have on my home video. And then I practice on the course as well. So regardless of where you practice, if you try it 3 times a week for 30 minutes and do that for 6 weeks in a row, you will find out if this method is good for you.
Well, hey, why not give it a shot and do it a little bit each day, get consistent, like you just said, and you'll see exactly, the improvements. I think it's also amazing that, everybody has their own score depending on their strength and abilities. It's really personalized, a very, appropriate approach for something like this. Um, I'd love to transition a little bit into the book itself and the writing process a little bit. Do you happen to
Okay.
have a copy of the book with you today by any chance?
Yes, I do. Right
Ooh, let's
here.
show it off. Let's show it off.
I see it there. Can
Okay,
you see
I
it
see
there?
the
Well,
golf ball. Yeah, yeah, okay. Did you have any say in the cover design?
I did. And there's a lot of these old photographs that are in the literary world. And this is a composite of several photographs that I looked at and we put together. It kind of shows a man in the background that you can't see him real well, and then the golf ball you can see very well, and the hole you can see real well. So it's implying he's quite a ways from the hole, and that's what the book's all about: long distance putting. And so that's kind of why the cover became what it was. And then the back of the book, they have a picture of me when I was a bit younger. And I looked a little bit better back then, but but it tells a little bit about my biography and what I'm all about. And so I'm uh, I'm very proud of this book because I think it can help all levels of golfer. You can learn something from this if you play miniature golf.
Okay.
Because if you play miniature golf, you should read this book because it will help your miniature golf putting skills as well. But I mean, it'll help amateurs, weekenders, professionals. This book will be something suitable for all levels of skills.
That's incredible, and it's great that you have such a wide audience, a wide target too, because, you're right, even if you're just, heading to the mini golf course with your boyfriend or a group of friends, you could always just brush up on this and show off, like, "Hey, I got this skill, look at me, I can, hit it in." Really awesome. So regarding the writing process itself, you told me that you've been working on this for a while and you used over 150 pages of notes and napkins and scraps of paper and you put it all onto the pages. That must have been quite a process. Can you tell us a
Well,
bit about that?
yeah, I had a good friend of mine, Mike Beck, who's from Akron, Ohio, and he's quite a good golfer. And we had 12 guys get together and play the RT Jones courses in Alabama. There's an
Mm.
RT Jones trail down there. And we were on one of the courses in Opelika, Alabama, and I hit my ball onto the green, and I was 93 feet away from the hole. And there was a terrace green with 3 levels. And Mike saw me walk the distance off to my ball, and he saw me use the plumb bob method for watching the curvature of the thing. So anyway, I retracted my putter approximately 5 inches, and the ball went down the first level terrace, and the second level went to the third level, and it went in the hole.
Mm.
And he said, wow. And I said, well, it was just luck. He said, no, no, that wasn't luck. I saw you do that. Okay. I saw you walk it off. I saw what you did. You need to write a book. And I laughed. And so after we finished playing golf and went to dinner that night, he said goodbye to me, and he said, Bob, he said, you really do need to think about writing a book about that, because you could help a lot of golfers. And so that put the idea in my mind, but I was never serious at that point. But because Mike said that, I started in my library here, my office, and well, I was getting close to retirement, and I thought about, I've got a lot of information here about my method now. So I said, well, maybe I ought to try to write a book. And I did. That's how it all got started. But it was a compilation of people, had several friends over the years, over the 25 years this all happened, had several friends telling me, hey, you need to write a book. And it finally got to me, and I did. That's how it all happened.
Wow. Well, hey, it's great to know that it went through so many different phases and all those notes, and also kudos to your wife for putting up with all the different testing of the golf balls. It's great to have a support system for sure. But how is the organization process like for you? I can only imagine you spread out all of those notes on a kitchen table or something, and you look at them, you say, "What do I do?" I think a lot of authors out there probably do the same thing. They have notes upon notes and sticky notes or notes in their phone. How do you know how to organize it? What was your process?
Well, if you look into the book, the first chapter is why. The second chapter is how.
Mm.
Okay. And so when I organize all my notes, I put them into stacks of why, where, who, how, and when. Okay. And those are, when you look at the titles of my chapters, you'll see that these demonstrative pronouns are used as the titling of my chapters to the book, because it's a methodology of why should I do this, who should do this, when it works, and that sort of thing. So when I stacked up my notes, I put them in the why, who, how, and when categories, and that's how I developed the chapters. What is the coolest thing about this method? It is absolutely linear, which is something that I had to test and back test to make sure it was reproducible. And it is very much reproducible.
Understood. And that's the main point, right? So that other people can reproduce it and use it for themselves. I get it.
Yeah.
um, so beyond this, this isn't your only project you've been working on. You told me that you've been working on a drink coaster as well. That's a really exciting endeavor as well. Totally left field from the book, but very excited to hear about it.
Well, that's another story.
Oh,
Here is the drink coaster.
oh, there it is.
Okay.
Okay.
It's called the Ultimate Drink Coaster Company. And
Okay.
what happened, it's an engineered product as well.
Mm.
And how this product came about was, again, it was purely happenstance, you might say. I was at my daughter's in October of 2023, and we were going to have a nice Saturday night dinner out. So we all got dressed up in our best clothes, and we were sitting around having a couple cocktails. Okay. So she gave me a coaster, one of those leather coasters. And I have one sitting around here somewhere. Yeah. As an example, here's a leather coaster that my wife used to use in her real estate business, and then this is my coaster that I engineered and designed from my experience at my daughter's house. Well, what happened was this leather coaster was connected to the bicondensate was connected to the bottom of my glass, and when I picked up my drink, the coaster fell on my silk tie. The condensate got all over my tie, my shirt, and my trousers, and then it fell on her carpet.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
So we had condensate on my tie, my shirt, my coat, my pants, and the floor. And I said to Kelly at the time, that's my daughter, I said, that's something that's bothered me my entire life, but I've never done anything. Now that I'm about ready to retire, I'm going to do something about that. So anyway, that's how the idea came up. And so this, Danielle, is the only coaster in the entire world that works.
The only one in the entire world. Wow.
That works. That's what my claim is, because it's got capillary, it's got little half 1 millimeter semicircles in the top grid here.
Hmm.
And there's one of them in the horizontal and vertical direction, all the thing. And what happens when you put your glass on top of this, the condensate will get on the grid and it will flow to one of those 1 millimeter semicircles. And that flow will go into the pan and collect all your things. So you collect all the condensate. So the methodology here is that we capture, convey, collect, and contain condensate so it doesn't get on your clothes, your coffee table, or your carpet. That's my story, and I'm sticking to
Love
it.
it. So it's out on the market then. If somebody listening today wanted to, check it out, they could head on over to your website maybe to purchase
Yeah,
it?
there's ultimatecoasterco.com.
Ah, okay.
You can buy them on the website there. You can buy them on Amazon. They're in all the Route 66 stores, and we've sold them to casinos and we sold them to golf courses. What we do is we take and we put, like Lake Valley Golf, we put their logo on it at the bottom of the pan, and as well as inside the pan. And they gave these out in sets of 4 to the patrons that were playing in a golf tournament. Okay. So we sold 800 of these to Lake Valley Golf, and all the people liked them. So we've gotten very good feedback so far, but we really didn't start marketing this thing until January of 2024. And we've got it domestically patented and it's internationally patented. And we've got manufacturing in the United States and we have manufacturing in Asia. We're about 8 months into the actual sales and marketing process now.
Understood. That is extremely impressive. And you know what I love most is that you don't stop, right? You did this whole golf endeavor, you made the book, you're helping thousands of people when they read your book, and now you're helping even more people in a more practical sense as well, in an everyday life sense. So that's great. I guess my question is, have you considered writing another book, perhaps one about coasters? Not sure if there's another
Well,
one on the agenda.
right now, I don't have any intentions of doing it, but I won't. I never say never, because if I come upon something that is a pet peeve, like the coastal thing,
Hmm.
that's how that evolved. Or if I come up upon a problem that I think I have a good solution to,
Right.
I might invent a product or I might write a book. So I'll never say never, but I have no intentions at this point.
Understood. Okay. Well, to our audience, then, what we can look forward to is the coasters themselves and also learning more about the book. And what is the best links to connect with you on for that? Where's the website that we can have everyone head to after the show?
Well, we have boblabbe.com, www.boblabbe.com.
Okay.
And we also have a www.puttingbythenumbers.com. So you could get the book on any of those, and the coaster you can get on ultimatecoasterco.com.
I
So,
love it. All right. So we're going to put the links in the description box of this podcast today so everybody can go on and click over. And ultimately, this is, just been a really intriguing conversation. I guess my last question to you as we begin to wrap up. What sort of advice would you give to a starting writer who maybe is following your footsteps, finds a problem that needs to be solved, or knows a method that others should learn from? What tips might you offer them that you wish you knew when you first got started on this process?
well, I think it's incumbent on anybody that's trying to write a book is to organize their ideas before they get involved with contacting a ghostwriter that can help them write that book. But I think you have to have developed a good outline of what you're writing about. And you have to have a developed thought process that you can utilize like a self-publishing um, company or a ghostwriter. You have to organize your thoughts. That's how I did with my notes. I put them in the who, how, why, and when categories, and I stacked them up, and then and I took them and I created those as chapters to my book, and that was the thought process. So I would recommend to anybody put a good outline of thoughts together. And there are fabulous ghostwriters out there. I think you said you're one of them,
I
and
am. Yeah.
and so I think then you go out to somebody who's a professional writer and you get their assistance in improving the thoughts that you did. As a matter of fact, in this book, I had Mike Shaw assist me. I wrote all the ideas in the book. He helped me improve some of the phraseology, you might say.
Okay.
Okay. And so Mike was a good help to me, and Mike's a professional writer, and he's written several books himself, and he's also a friend of mine. If you aren't a professional writer, which I'm not, but what I did through my whole life, I wrote hundreds and hundreds of technical proposals on air pollution control systems for U.S. Steel, for power plants, you name it. I wrote these proposals could be 100, 150 pages long. So I had a lot of writing experience, but it was technical writing more so than just writing a fiction or nonfiction book.
Understood. Okay, yeah. So I guess what we can learn from that is even if you have a lot of writing experience, you still need to plan it out correctly, have that outline in mind. And I love that you did mention, sometimes you need somebody on your team, a ghostwriter, an editor, even beta readers. It just works wonders to have another set of eyes on the work. And I love that you mentioned like Authors on a Mission is actually a publishing house. We help you get your books ideas out there. So even if you just have those categories, those outlines, we can help you bring it full fledged. So yeah, I completely agree with you. It's been a really insightful conversation. I really appreciate all these tips that you shared with us. And if you're listening today, and even if you don't necessarily play golf, maybe you can get out and try it, get some mini golf going, and you can learn a ton from Bob's book. So it's been a really great conversation. Thank you so much for coming on, Bob.
Well, I appreciate you having me, and I hope that anybody that wants to play golf will at least take a look at my videos. And if they like what they see, then you can buy an ebook, you can buy it in paperback form, you can buy a hardcover, or you can buy the audiobook, whichever suits you.
Absolutely. There's so many different options, and multimedia is always an amazing, incredible strategy as well. So all in all, it's been really incredible. Thank you so much, guys. We're gonna put the links to Bob's work in the description box of this podcast, so you can go over and click there and learn a little bit more about him. So again, check out Putting by the Numbers, discover Bob's method for yourself. And until next time, just keep transforming your expertise into excellence, keep writing, keep leading, and keep inspiring. We'll see you next time on the Authors on Mission podcast.
That's a wrap on another episode of the Authority on Demand podcast. If today's conversation sparked something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with a founder or a leader who's ready to stop being the best kept secret in their industry. If you want to turn your expertise into inbound demand, head to authorityondemand.com to see how we help clients go from unknown to in demand. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, and I'll catch you on the next one. Now, go build some authority.